Today we're talking about a really cool AR-15 trigger, and we're going to talk about why I think it might be the best AR-15 trigger that I've ever used. This is it right here. This is the Blackout Defense AR-15 trigger. Now the one I'm showing you right here is the 4.5 pound. I installed the 3 pound inside my AR-15. We're gonna go over that footage in just a little bit, but first I wanna talk about this and then how I got introduced to this company right here. So I recently just did a tour with Blackout Defense. I went to their facility in Arizona and they showed me everything. They showed me their QC process. They showed me their machining, multi-million-dollar machines, extremely stringent QC process as well, which is good. When you're dealing with something like this, like a trigger, you're focused on reliability, you're focused on performance. So each one of these triggers is actually hand inspected and polished individually. So when you get these triggers, you'll look at it, you might find some polishing marks around the edges, stuff like that. So through the QC process, they're actually going to go through the entire trigger, all the moving parts, and they're going to polish it where they feel it needs to be polished. So each trigger might be a little bit different. So this trigger has an awesome reset, has an awesome feel to it. The only one I have tried is a 3 pound, but this is essentially the same thing, just a heavier spring weight, and then this one actually has a curved trigger. They also make AR-10 triggers as well. So let's talk about a couple features on this guy right here. So you have these painted marks inside the trigger, and it's kind of weird, like what could that be? Well, I'm gonna show you guys a video real quick from Blackout Defense explaining what the markings are on the trigger as well.
So here we have our 3 pound AR-15 curved trigger in black nitride finish, and I'm gonna show the paint markings that we do. So when you open up the trigger, we have here our welded areas. We've red marked those, so those are do not touch. Those are welded for longevity and they will stay in place. And then if you flip it over, we have 2 pre-installed set screws there. Those are green marked so that they're indicating that those are what you screw down to secure a trigger to your receiver. And these are yellow marked. These are the pre and post travel adjustment insets where you can drive in the included hardware if you feel that you need to.
So I'm gonna give you guys a little background on how I was introduced to the company. So I was out shooting with Mike from Tactical Considerations, and it was actually our first time shooting together. That wasn't like at an event, it was just in the desert where we do our shooting typically. So before we left, we were kind of packing our stuff up and he's like, you gotta feel this trigger real quick. He already had a relationship with Blackout Defense. So he hands me the AR and then I give it a rip, and it was like an amazing feeling. Very light trigger pull, very forcible reset as well. So you just have the feeling like you pull that trigger and your fingers are already back in spot. Not like the force reset trigger that we're all familiar with. It's just a very nice trigger. I'm not gonna call it a hair trigger because it's not a hair trigger. Basically what happened is like, he's like, oh, you know what, I got an extra trigger, let me give it to you for reviewing. So True Shot Gun Club was having a AZ Firearms Festival. I went there, Mike was there, Jonathan from Tactical Toolbox was there as well. So we were walking around and sure enough, we run into the guys over at Blackout Defense. Mike told him that I got to try the trigger and he's gonna give me one of his. So Blackout's, he's like, no, just come by the facility and we'll get you a trigger. I made an appointment with them to tour the facility. I'm making an entire video just for the facility tours, but they have a really great QC process and the machining is out of this world. Definitely using a scientific approach on their triggers. I put one in my LWRC AR-15, the trigger itself, I believe it's a Geisley inside there, and it's just wearing out. It's had several, like tens of thousands of rounds through that AR. So it's about time that I swap it out, which is perfect. I took one of the Blackout Defense triggers, a 3 pound straight trigger, and I dropped it in there. this is probably one of the best triggers because of the feel and the performance. Really fast follow-up shots. I'm a very intermediate, mediocre AR shooter. I'm not tactical by any means. I would love to be better at shooting ARs and all that, and I could do it. I'm just an average shooter out there. I'm not anybody special, unique, or anything like that. That trigger for me was absolutely stunning. It felt great. It's just an amazing addition to the LWRC, especially being able to swap out a worn out trigger. It was really worn out. So with these triggers right here, they actually drop test them from several different distances. They put them on trigger vibrators and they vibrate the crap out of these triggers and try to get them to fail. They try to make these fail. They heat treat them in-house. They test the hardness. As far as a drop-in trigger, this thing is amazing. So what's kind of cool is I actually had a couple of my friends. I had John from True Shot take a rip on the LWRC with the trigger that I put in there, and here's what he had to say about it.
That's a nice trigger.
Yeah.
The reset's real good. The weight's real good. Flat trigger, just, I'm speechless.
Yep.
I'm speechless. This is badass.
I also had Jonathan with Tactical Toolbox try the trigger out as well, and he also liked it. Here's that clip as well.
Yeah, that's fun. That's not bad. Trigger's pretty cool, right? Yeah.
So here's the LWRC AR-15 that I put the drop-in trigger on. Just to show you guys, this right here is a trigger pack that I took out. And then this is what the Blackout looks like next to it. So this is a drop-in trigger and this is not. One thing I want to do real quick is let's test out that trigger pull. I'm gonna make sure it is empty. Let's see what the trigger pull weighs. 2 pounds and 11.8 ounces. Jeez. On an AR. That's pretty freaking cool. 2 pounds, 9.3 ounces. 2 pounds, 7.1 ounces. 2 pounds, 7.5 ounces. So this is a below 3 pound trigger pull, which is absolutely insane and feels really cool, especially on an AR. So let me show you what it looks like inside the AR itself. So there's the drop-in trigger. You can see those are the two little red painted welds that they have right there. But overall, it just went right in. Really easy to remove the selector, the safety and selector, and the trigger just dropped right in. It came with these two anti-walk pins. Out of the several hundred rounds I've fired out of this thing already with this trigger, this thing has not wiggled itself loose whatsoever. Still very secure, very tight. So only time will tell. We'll see how this holds out. That's one of the reasons why they actually decided to go with the welding as well. So let's look at the trigger pull itself and the reset. That's it. And then here's the reset. That's it, it's reset, pull. All right, here's a reset. Right there, and pull. So with a less than 3 pound trigger pull, you have a very tight, precise trigger pull right on the wall there. And then the reset is right after the wall. As soon as you move your finger, as soon as you budge your finger forward, it resets. And then at that reset is the wall of the trigger pull again. And again, less than 3 pounds.
Pretty slick.
Overall, these Blackout Defense triggers are absolutely amazing. I don't think I've ever felt a trigger like this. Now, I've felt good triggers, I've used good triggers, I've fired other people's firearms, I've tested very expensive AR platforms, very easy installation as well. So overall, pretty cool trigger and probably the best one that I've ever tried. Anyways, I hope you all like this video. Please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and leave a comment below. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to subscribe and join the family. Thank you all so much. I'll see you later.